buzz for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube, exposing the fact that we got reptilians living among us. That was a buzz. Notice the curvature. Flew directly overhead in that curve. Got LAPD buzzing in my hometown. Want to go for a close-up, bud? I think you guys are liking your close-ups. So I was thinking about some of the more interesting aspects of the fact that I ran into materialization out of nothing, okay? So, you know, you've heard like the science fiction term, you know, instant materialization, you know, like somebody thinks something and it appears. Well, that's what I ran into in 2019, guys, in case y'all didn't know. Now, I understand if, you know, like when you're hearing something like that, you know, secondhand, you have no idea. I mean, even if like, let's say people have been watching me for a while, then, you know, even then, you know, like I said, it's kind of on the periphery of belief, and I could scarcely believe it while it was happening to me, even though I knew it was, and I was able to figure out later that God had made sure that I understood everything that was happening because he had certain select people who were actually very good communicators, especially Anna's lawyer, Mr. Kunpi. Kun, by the way, that's brother for, and they use that term for the monks, but actually he wasn't at the monastery anymore. He was a lawyer for my Anna and assisted her also at the shelter that she built there, the 5-story shelter that she built with a government grant to help out all the many thousands of women and children that were left scattered from the child trafficking and sex trafficking rings there, which are not just in Thailand, by the way, so don't think that I'm speaking against them. It's everywhere. In fact, I think USA is the biggest, from what I hear, is the biggest child sex trafficking and sex trafficking industry source in the world. But it's hard to understand, you know, hard to know if that's whether that's accurate or not. But it's pretty sure, and it's not just, and we know that it's not just for sex; it's for consumption, which is pretty nasty. But it is what it is. You know, the Lord has made even this, everything that we see here going on. You know, when it happens to me, like, you know, I see my shadow banning on YouTube. You know, where like I'll get up to, you know, what is it, 9,200, 500 subscribers, and then it drops back down to 9,200, 400, and whatever, you know, just based on their whim. But basically, just they keep me at one level for a long time. I noticed that too with people they don't like Jimmy Dore and Redacted and all that. They just keep them at one level. And Russell Brand, you know, they're not letting his channel grow anymore. That's how it is when they don't like your message, because, well, they don't want the truth out, because they are hating the truth, because their world, as Putin well said, their empire is an empire of lies. Okay, I'll give you an example. My Anna, when she was healing this one person, what it was is, and she healed quite a few people, but what she would do is she would take the injuries onto herself and then heal herself rapidly. That's how she did it. And what I realized, but now in this one case, Satan sent his servants to mind control a couple of police that we had to watch our friends and keep them from danger. Mind controlled them to run over a friend of ours. Yeah, I know, it sounds incredible, but this is what happened. And she was injured so bad that they were going to have to amputate her arm. But Anna came to the hospital and she took all the injuries onto herself, and it was a massive undertaking But she healed our friend, and then but all the injuries were on her, and so they were explaining to me that all the injuries that our friend had suffered were now on Anna, who was like all wrapped in bandages, and it was, she was really hurt bad, but luckily she has the ability to turn off her pain receptors. So what I realized was that the data from the injury was transferable. That's what I think is that, because how does it make sense to transfer injury from one person onto another person? It's like it doesn't, what's happening there? Why would that what's the purpose? But it seems to me as though what Carl Sagan was talking about, and many others have talked about, the holographic universe, the fact that we are, this idea that we're in a simulation. I think something like that applies. I mean, it's probably nothing like what we may be able to understand, because it's so complex. Like, just at the same time, it's all very, very real and stable, and it seems like in our ordinary lives we're kind of set up not to think of anything abnormal, but or something like, we're not expecting some amazing thing to happen, who knows, a miracle or running into ETs or something else. I just heard some cool video of this guy talking about his encounter with a reptilian at a party, and he was saying that there was this guy, and he was like really big, and he was kind of at this party, but he noticed him, and he happened to be, and he had other encounters with ETs, and he was remarking that when you have these kinds of encounters, these kinds of things happen to you, it tends to attract more. So sure enough, so I think he has a government job, and so he had run into and spoken with and all that, and interacted with various ETs. So but he was at an unrelated party, and he just so happens to run into this big guy, and over the course of events, the guy comes up and kind of says something weird to him, and he kind of says something weird back, not even realizing what the guy was saying, and then because the guy thought that so it turns out it was a shape-shifting reptilian. It was a reptilian, and he said these kind of reptoids were kind of like, they were more human in appearance. They didn't have the big snout, but he says that they come to Earth to get stuff. Who knows what they're getting? You didn't elaborate. But so he has a conversation with this being. He's talking with him, and he tells him that what it is they can, these beings, but they can't stay for much longer than like 3 months, because there's something having to do with gravity and something else that it makes it harder for them to stay here. And probably they're not allowed to, or maybe they get a visa, from the government or something. But he says that it's a significant effort for ETs to come here. So if they're coming here, it's for a particular reason. Like, for instance, he said these two other ETs that he talked to in a completely different event that were not reptilians. They had like this elongated head though, and they were wearing like these orange and silver jumpsuits, and they were very big and muscular. And he said that they were looking out for him. So who knows? Maybe he's he's an important ET ambassador experiencing a human life and all that. But it was interesting how he said that this reptilian ET that he met at this party, he actually developed a relationship with him. Even though like in that moment he said something afterwards, and the reptilian figured it out faster than he did, that he had realized that what it was is he was dealing with something other than human, and but the all hell didn't break loose or something like that, and he just handled it calmly, because he had, I guess, that was his job. He was talking to non-humans and so forth, so he kind of just had a like a three week kind of relationship with him, just talking, sharing information and stuff like that. And he didn't go too much into what he said, but he said that at one point he was contacting him, and he said that he used WhatsApp, the reptilian non-terrestrial, non-Terran. By the way, Terrans is what they call, because they call Earth Terra, off planet. So when they refer to humans, they're speaking of Terrans, or maybe non-humans that are permanent residents here, call us Terrans. And like Penny Bradley said, though, the reptilians are insulted if they have to work with us because we're the lowest of the low. We're the retards, friends! Oh, man. That's so humiliating. But the interesting thing to me about the universe being holographic, a computer program, it's all data, okay? It's all information. There's a code to it. It's under control. That's how God controls everything. But what I was going to say was interesting is that it means anything can happen. I mean, who knows what can come out of, the imagination of God, or maybe someone else who God gives to create various things. And yet I think it's all under a complete synchronous control. Even the entire universe, the multiverse, even with time travel and all this incredibly complex stuff going on, it's all controlled somehow. It's mind-boggling how that could possibly be, but that's what I think is happening. And it gives you a sense that anything in your life or anything that's happening, there is the possibility of changing it. There is a possibility of something different suddenly being added that couldn't have been expected by anybody. I mean, I think there's some things that do have to remain a constant, and that's why the Word of God is so great, because in it you can see some of the everlasting promises, the things going off into eternity, some of the solid facts. We can't believe what we read or hear anybody say, right? You can't believe what people yapping on YouTube are saying, or even in the pulpits with these respectable pastors, very, hard-working, and they make a big sermon and everything, and every single week, and oh man, they're so reliable. But let me tell you, friends, as far as that goes, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, I'll say it again. You cannot necessarily trust what these people say, because there's a lot of wrong stuff going on. Ooh, got an Ajax, not Ajax, let's see, what kind of chopper is that? Anyway, he's coming for a direct overhead, here he comes. See, he's positioning himself for a direct overhead. This is a direct overhead helicopter. Not necessarily a buzz, because we are on the freeway where they do, in fact, fly overhead quite a bit, so can't make a determining factor. Generally, I won't put the time and date under a chopper that's, I'm not really sure it was a buzz. Yeah, so I may have told you I bought the Star Trek Next Generation DVD box set. I've been watching it, and I just like it because it has these deep concepts, but I could be wrong about this, but I kind of think that Captain Jean-Luc Picard is an image of the Lord, at least his something of his personality. There's something that just looks like him to me, but maybe it's just like a similarity. Even like all of his style that they had for him in that show, the manner of dress he would wear. I was watching one of my favorite episodes where the Enterprise runs into this buoy, and the buoy has this mind thing that puts someone that it chooses into this program and has them live out an entire life in their village, which got destroyed a long time ago because of a star that went supernova for their system. But you probably remember that if you were watching the show. It's a great episode. It's the one where he has the flute, but just the way he's dressed and everything that happens in it, it just looks like the style. I don't know. Maybe it's just my funny imagination, but he's not. He's kind of more of a. He's not a rough and tumble guy like Wolverine or one of these X-Men or something like that. He's, you know, not this like aggressive, loud kind of thing. He's like, you know, more, I mean, powerful and forceful when he needs to be, but he's more soft-spoken, more of a diplomat trying to make peace, you know. And William Riker gets to be hit, like, kind of like the, you know, the sharp edge to that makes it work, because he's like the commander, you know, he's the commander, so he barks orders, he yells red alert when there's something happening, or, you know, shields up, phasers ready, you know. And then you got Worf, who's the consummate warrior there, ready behind the weapons control panel, ready to blow the crap out of anybody that messes with the Enterprise. I love Worf, man. That's such a great character. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't get me wrong, I really love the original too. I mean, the original, and in fact, in a lot of ways, in a very distinct way, the original was better. It was the best Star Trek series that ever was. But I think the Next Generation was the second best, and then successively just got a little bit worse and worse, you know, with Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and various other ones. Couldn't quite match and it's not just because it was the first. There was something about it that was more visceral, you know. It was more visceral, whereas the Next Generation was more cerebral. All right, check this out. I can't read the whole thing because they try to tear it down, but look at this. It says, I made an award-winning film about law enforcement using directed energy weapons on law-abiding Americans secretly. I guess they didn't want me telling everyone. They don't want anyone to watch the, quote, official trailer for Predators Don't Like, probably attention. I can't see what it says there.
In 2018, I embarked on a journey to Hollywood. Leaving behind a successful career, I hit the ground running. But then, my first terrifying encounter with directed energy weapons. These attacks brought unfamiliar sensations. This inspiring and compelling journey through highs and lows. You could be shot through the window from a mile away, and they keep passing every night, every 15 minutes. Because I hardly was aware of helicopters until they started attacking me. I was just trying to get away. After a day, the helicopters there started attacking. You can hear thuds and thumps. Follow him around the corner where he's got this car. What can I do to avoid this? Make a trip to Canada. I was there for political asylum. Also tried to dissuade me from applying for political asylum for this reason, that I'm being persecuted, harassed by a government agency. For sure, they're using police helicopters. You get gas when they're shooting you in the torso area. And seconds after that swoop down, this overwhelming weakness fell over me. Like there was kryptonite. Group of helicopters are following me. I'm on foot and I squat and they watched me. It felt like my head was going to pop or a blood vessel was going to pop. The police have trained the public to think that everything they do is protection.
Where a victim steps forward and the person responsible for validating their experiences and providing support is directly affiliated with law enforcement, there could be a conflict.
Sharing with you an experience that you probably don't have very often. I am being stalked by a helicopter. The unimaginable reality of directed energy weapons.
Now, I don't know, but I would guess then that sorcery is tapping into that program, that data access. So it's against the rules especially if you're not qualified and your heart desires evil, as we're all born into. Look, this is the cat hangout. Well, at least he's got a friend. It's good to have a friend. Let me tell you, try a solitary deal that you get before you enter the kingdom. You'll be appreciating a friend, thinking back on your school days. If you're watching this, it's not too late. Say this prayer now. Father in heaven, please save my soul by the work of your Son Jesus on the cross, and show me your pure words in the authorized King James Bible.
I'm coming for you.